Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Islamic podcast. So, a few days ago, I actually came across this video by Inspiring Philosophy.
Oh shit. Here we go again.
So, basically, he made a video where he made a response to another Muslim regarding the Prophet's marriage with Aisha. There's nothing new there. He basically repeats the same nonsense that we've refuted like 100 times by now.
Stop! Stop! He's already dead.
But yeah, let's take a look and let's see what he said.
A Muslim has challenged me on Muhammad's marriage to Aisha and has argued there's nothing morally wrong with. Brace yourself for this response.
Look at this dude.
Brace yourself. Oh, he's such a gangster.
I just want to ask myself, is life worth living? Should I blast myself?
I don't know what yeah, go back to sleep, bro. Go back to sleep. Sorry.
Listen, you idiot. Like, this argument has been refuted over 100 times. Okay, you're not bringing anything new. And I already know that before you even open your mouth. Okay, before you even open your mouth, I already know what you're going to say.
Blessed be upon him, was persecuted heavily for 2 years straight, and even throughout his whole entire prophethood. And they would say anything to tarnish his reputation. If he was a pedo, how come nobody pointed that out?
So your argument is no one in Muhammad's time and region thought it was immoral to have a child bride.
And basically here he's committing what is known as the shifting the burden of proof fallacy. How is this a burden of proof fallacy? Because you may some of his fans you may wonder. So burden of proof, shifting the burden of proof, to be more precise, is when someone has a certain burden of proof. For example, imagine if I said that, do you have any evidence that there's not an old lady in the moon that kind of like make fabrics? Because I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. There's like this myth in the Bengal region that there's like this old lady in the moon and she's like making fabrics. So imagine if I said this, right? Would that be a valid proposition or an argument? No, because like I made a claim here, right? And the claim is that there's a lady in the moon and she makes fabrics. So instead of proving my claim, I'm actually turning it around and saying that, you have to disprove my claim, a claim that I didn't bring any evidence for, okay? Same thing here. Here, he's making a claim. That claim is that in the past, right, when people have very short lifespan, when marriage between marriage of minors was completely normal, according to even Catholic Church allowed marriages like this. He's claiming that in that situation, what the Prophet did was wrong. So he's making this claim, and he provided absolutely no evidence that this is something that should be considered wrong, especially because the Catholic Church itself allowed this. So this is Anne de Mowbray, the 8th Countess of Norfolk. So here it talks about her marriage on 15th January 1478, 85. She was married in St. Stephen's Chapel. St. Stephen's Chapel, Westminster, to Richard of Shrewsbury, Duke of York, the 4-year-old young son of King Edward IV. So this is an example of a marriage in the church, and this happened in the 4th century. So a 5-year-old was married off under the leadership of Christian priests. So here, this is from the marriage canons. This is a book from the 12th century. This is a legal textbook, Christian legal textbook. This is a collection of canon laws. This is written by a jurist known as Gratian. So basically, this is like a Christian book of fiqh. So let's see what it says about age of marriage, right? So here it says, Roman citizens contract just marriage when they come together in accord with the commandments of the law. This applies to women above puberty, which means that the age of marriage is when you reach puberty, and males who are potent. So here it clear cut says that marriage can happen at the age of puberty, which means what? At the age of 12 or 13 or 9, something like that. But in the book, they actually make it clear that age of puberty is actually at the age of 7. So let's read. Let's continue. And we'll see it, inshallah. So here in C4, under the marriage canon, they actually talk about marriage of a man and a baby.
I don't make this stuff up.
I'm not kidding. A marriage between a man and a baby. So basically, in this book, they kind of collect some of the letters that was sent by people to kind of like the bishops and church fathers. So this is the letter that they wrote, Alexander III, to the Bishop of Hereford. It says, "We have received your fraternity letter, from whose import we gather that a certain man, a parishioner of yours by the name of A, when he was of mature age, betrothed to a certain girl in her cradle." So, inspired philosophy is very mad at the prophet. Here, their church fathers are being informed that a man has married a baby, a baby that's in the cradle. Okay, so let's see what this church father says, right? "With the passing of time, A had relations with the girl's mother and took her as wife." Oh wow, spicy. "We wondered whether this marriage should stand, so we asked our counsel about it. To your question," so this is like a Islam QA, right? They're like asking questions to their like sheikh. This is the response. "To your question, we reply as follows. If the man took the girl's mother as wife before the girl had completed her 7th year, you may dissolve that marriage and permit the man liberty to keep the woman as his wife. Such betrothals made in the cradle are null. But if the man took the girl's mother as wife after the girl had completed her 7th year, do not hesitate to promulgate a decree of divorce between them, since betrothal after this age are approved by custom." So yeah, here it clearly says that the age of marriage is at the age of 7. It's at the age of 7. Usually, marriage was considered at the age of puberty, and age of puberty was considered at the age of 7. So age of 7 was considered the age of marriage, right? Which is younger than Aisha radhiyallahu anha, okay? Because she was married at the age of 9, right? So yeah, under Christianity, this type of marriage is completely allowed. This type of marriage is completely allowed. And here you have the moral police, Mr. Mr. Inspiring Philosophy, who knows better than his church fathers and his like Christian scholars. He's saying the prophet did something wrong that his own religion permits. Okay, so I find this fascinating. So anyway, so the point is that this is obviously a clear case of a fallacy of shifting the burden of proof, because he showed no proof that this is actually wrong in the first place. For us to show that this is not wrong, he first have to show that this is actually wrong under Christianity, because he's a Christian. He claims to be a Christian. You have to show from Christianity that this is wrong. So far, we don't see it.
That is a useless argument to make, because the popularity of a belief does not determine whether it is objectively right or wrong. Are you a moral relativist?
That's a straw man. No one is saying that. No one is saying because this belief was popular, therefore it is wrong. He's asking, if this thing is wrong, then you would expect people to object to this, right? Then why didn't anyone object to this? Like, what's the explanation for this? He's asking for an explanation. That's different than making the argument that, no one objected to this, therefore it's right. That's not what he's saying. He's saying that he's asking for explanation as to why no one objected, right? Why is it that your own church fathers and Christianity itself allowed this? Why is it all traditions around the world allowed this? Like, why? What's the explanation? Do you have any explanation? Like, he's asking for an explanation. And your argument is just like a straw man. And that's the thing. The argument is not that, oh, people in the past did it, therefore it's okay. The argument is, people in the past, everyone collectively came and did this. What's the best explanation for it? Is it the case that they are all wrong? Or is it the case that maybe the reason they did it is because, child mortality rate is very high. It's because, at the time and the context that they lived in, it was very difficult for them to get married late because people didn't live very long, and child mortality rate was high. That's the reason why they married early. And if that is the case, then why is that morally wrong for them to marry like that? If they don't have any other choice, or if they have very little choice in this matter, they have a reason why they did this, right? So then why would that be moral? That's the argument.
You a moral relativist? Do you believe that cultures determine what is right or wrong? If anything, that would show Muhammad was a product of the morally corrupt culture of his time. It's unlikely he was getting divine revelations from a morally perfect being if he thought it was okay to have a child bride.
Do you know why?
Okay, so again, here he's committing the logical fallacy known as presentism. So presentism is the idea that morality, like you can morally judge people in the past based on context that is different, right? Because it doesn't follow, the argument doesn't follow. For example, if I said that people in the past did not take their children to the hospital, then would that be a more valid moral critique? No, because they didn't have hospitals back then. Okay, so this is a very stupid point to make. It doesn't follow. How are they going to take people to the hospital when hospitals didn't exist? Same way, how are they going to wait until, like, I don't know, a girl reaches like 18 or 30 when child mortality rate is like extremely high? The chance of them having passing off their lineage in a successful line is very low if they wait that long. So obviously it becomes a very stupid point to say that but what the people back in the day did is wrong, even they have a valid reason for why they did this, right? So yeah, this is like a presentism fallacy.
You can't find any such accusation on him at the time because to them it was a normal marriage.
Which is exactly my point. You're making it for me. Muhammad was a product of the morally corrupt culture of his time. He was.
Why were they morally corrupt? Like, this guy keeps making this claim. Again, where's the evidence that this was a example of moral corruption? Like, where's the evidence for this?
And to apply the same morals that you have of today onto back then is something we call a presentism fallacy.
That does not work because Muhammad is supposed to be the moral example for humanity beyond his time.
On top of
So that doesn't make the logic invalid. That doesn't all of a sudden make your argument not a fallacy. Because the thing is that where is this idea that this marriage was wrong? Where? You showed no example of this. You showed no evidence for this. Even your own tradition allowed this. How does this make any sense? Like, just imagine all your ancestors, like all the people that lived in the history at that time period are all like morally perverted. Does it make any sense? No. Okay, like, I mean, just imagine his let's be consistent, right? Let's apply his logic that morality has to be objective in the sense that it has to be the same, exactly the same everywhere all at once. Okay, everywhere all at once. Okay, then that means that moral legal laws based on this moral system can never change. Okay, let's be consistent with that. So we know that in the past, a few years back, we had these COVID restrictions where people were not allowed to go outside. So it was morally wrong for us to go outside because we could be spreading the disease, right? And now, COVID pandemic has died down. And now, then by this logic, if this is really the case that, going outside is morally wrong, then it should always be the case that going outside is morally wrong. So then, are you saying that we should never go outside of our house? Are you saying that? Because if we have to be consistent with your logic, then we can never go outside of our house because, morality doesn't change. It cannot change. Or the way we apply morality can never change. So then why do you go outside of your house? Or do you go outside of your house? I don't even know. So this is like the stupid argument. This is why it's fallacious. Okay, this is why fallacious. Why is it that I have to explain like simple logical fallacies? Your name is literally inspiring philosophy. You're supposed to be studying logic, and you don't understand basic logic.
Aisha willingly did it, and she know what she was doing. We know this. Why? Because Aisha hit puberty already. And
That's debatable, as early Islamic sources indicate she did not actually. Sahih al-Bukhari, 6130, narrated Aisha, I used to play with the dolls in the presence of the Prophet, and my girlfriends also used to play with me. When Allah's messenger used to enter my dwelling place, they used to hide themselves, but the Prophet would call them to join and play with me. The playing with the dolls and similar images is forbidden, but it was allowed for Aisha at the time, as she was a little girl, not yet reached the age of puberty. Sahih Muslim, 3481.
Again, like, this is not part of the hadith. This is in bracket. This is a commentary. Ibn Hajar, and according to him, the age of puberty is at the age of 50.
That Aisha had not reached puberty by the time she was taken to Muhammad's house for consummation. You'll recall from our reading of Sahih Muslim 3481 that when Aisha was taken to Muhammad's house, she took her dolls with her. Why is this important? Well, aren't dolls images? Aren't images forbidden in Islam? Why was Aisha, the wife of the Prophet, the mother of the faithful, playing with forbidden images? As it turns out, prepubescent girls were allowed to play with dolls because prepubescent girls hadn't reached the age of moral accountability. But don't take my word for it. Sahih al-Bukhari, 6130. Narrated Aisha.
By the way, I love how Michael just straight up plagiarized David Wood's and Sam Shamoun's argument. The enemies of Islam are really out of ideas, so now they are just copy-pasting other people's work.
This is a lie. Okay, so the hadith he quotes, if you look at the Arabic, you'll notice that the words in brackets, not yet reached the age of puberty, is not in the original Arabic. This is actually taken from Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani's commentary. However, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani actually quotes another scholar named al-Khattabi to make his point. However, here is the thing. The Sheikh Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani follows the Shafi school of thought. In the Shafi school of thought, puberty is generally seen as when a girl has reached 15, the age of 15. Even if that person has reached pubic hair or went through her menstruation, it doesn't matter. She still would be considered to have not reached puberty. Even though from a medical point of view, she has technically reached puberty. So it could be the case that maybe he was arguing from that point of view. However, even then, he still had doubts because he said in his book, after quoting Khattabi, Al-Khattabi said this hadith proves that the playing with dolls is not like use of other images, which has been condemned. Aisha was excused in this as she had not yet reached puberty. Kanat Gaira Baliga. To me, however, positively stating that she had not yet attained puberty is questionable, yet possible, because by the events of Battle of Khaybar, Aisha was either exactly or just a little above or below 14. By the time Battle of Tabuk, however, she had definitely reached the age of puberty. You can read about this in Fath al-Bari by Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, volume number 10, page number 527. Notice what he says. To me, however, positively stating that she has not yet reached puberty is questionable yet possible, which means he is uncertain. Again, the reason he thinks this is because he could be arguing from the premise that a girl can reach full puberty only at the age of 15. However, we know for a fact that Aisha has reached puberty from a medical point of view and from an Islamic point of view, because there's a hadith which says, it's from Bukhari 2661, and the hadith says, so I went to the place where I used to stay, thinking that they would discover my absence and come back in my search. While in this state, I felt sleepy and I slept. Dhakwani was behind the army and reached my abode in the morning. When he saw a sleeping person, he came to me and he used to see me before veiling, which means this hadith is taking place after the rule of veil have come down. When he saw me and he said, truly to Allah we belong and truly to him we shall return. I woke up and covered my face with my jalab or outer garment. You can read about this in Sahih al-Bukhari 4141. We also know when this hadith takes place, because there is one place where Aisha says, O Mista stumbled by getting her foot entangled in her covering sheet, and on that she said, let Mista be ruined. I said, what a hard word you have said. Do you abuse a man who took part in the Battle of Badr? Now here they're talking about one of the companions of the Prophet. His name was Mista ibn Uthata. However, here's the thing. Mista bin Uthata, if you look at his biography, he wasn't just involved in the Battle of Badr. He was also participated in other major battles as well, such as Uhud, Khandak, and Khaybar. However, Aisha only mentions the Battle of Badr, which means this event is taking place right after the Battle of Badr. So we know Aisha was wearing hijab after the Battle of Badr. However, hijab is mandatory for women only after they reach puberty. According to Islam QA, a girl has to wear the hijab only after they reach puberty. It says, a person is not considered to be accountable until after reaching puberty. Before puberty, he or she is not accountable, because the Prophet ﷺ said, the pen has been lifted from three: from the child until he reaches puberty, from the sleeper until he wakes up, and from the one who has lost his mind until he recovers. You can read about this hadith in Abu Dawud 4402. However, this contradicts the idea that she hasn't reached puberty because she was playing with dolls
around the time of Battle of Tabuk or Khaybar. So which means when she was playing with dolls in the Hadith during Battle of Khaybar or Tabuk, she has already reached puberty.
As we can see right here, the age of puberty came a lot younger than now. And here's about, how puberty came about for younger girls. Here's the source right at the bottom.
You didn't read your own sources. I checked. If we actually go to this paper, it actually says the opposite of the point you're trying to make. It says girls in the Paleolithic times matured quicker. This was delayed in the Neolithic period. And then with settlement, childhood disease and postnatal nutrition became common. And therefore the average age of menarche was delayed. Only now is it falling back to the Paleolithic time frame because of better nutrition. This is also what Endorse is saying. So actually, in Muhammad's time, which was post-Neolithic and pre-modern times, it's likely that girls actually matured slower, not quicker.
You are stupid. 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 And don't forget, you are stupid.
No, it doesn't. So basically, the paper, it talks about menarche, but puberty actually starts before menarche. So menarche is just, what is it, like a third or second stage of puberty, but it's not the start of puberty.
This is a lie. Just because a girl has not reached menstruation does not mean that they have not reached puberty. Here David is committing the fallacy of composition. He is taking a small part of going through puberty, which is menstruation or having a period, and acting as if it's the whole part of puberty. Again, puberty is divided into 5 different stages. Having a period or menstruation only happens in the later part of puberty, during either stage 3 or 4. According to an article on Healthline reviewed by Dr. Karen Gill, written by Rena Goldman, the second stage of puberty starts at the age of 9 or earlier. They said puberty usually starts between age 9 or 11. The first signs of breasts, called buds, start to form under the nipple. They may be itchy or tender, which is normal. Also, according to the article, girls usually get their first period around the 3rd or 4th stage of puberty. Now, many girls get their first period typically between ages 12 and 14, but it can happen way earlier. And another thing to note is that in medieval period, this usually happened way earlier. So no, David, just because they have not reached menstruation does not mean that they have not reached puberty.
So again, clearly you don't know what you're talking about. You sound like a complete idiot. Okay, so there's a paper on the conversation. It was written by Mary Lewis. She's an associate professor on bioarchaeology, University of Reading. She cites a few studies on archaeology where they found bones that actually shows that girls in medieval England actually reached puberty at the age of 9 to 10. Okay, and this is in medieval England, which means after the time of the Prophet, which shows evidence that no, actually girls also reached puberty at a very early age, even after the time of Prophet. So it's very much possible that at the time of the Prophet or 6th or 7th century in Arabia, girls have reached puberty earlier. So she says the following: children are entering puberty younger than before, according to recent studies, raising concern that childhood obesity and hormone contaminated water supplies may be to blame. However, our archaeological research suggests that there's nothing to worry about. Children in medieval England entered puberty between the age of 10 and 12 years of age, the same as today. So yeah, basically she's debunking this notion that many kind of like archaeologists have, that girls in the past actually reached puberty slower, which is a theory that has been debunked by many academics and scholars, and recently has been challenged. And this is one of those evidences that challenges this. For example, they found some skeletons from medieval England, and this is what she says, what the bones reveals. In our study of 994 medieval adolescents from medieval England who died between 900 to 1500, we traced the stage of puberty by examining their canine teeth, the shape of their neck and the wrist bones, and the fusion of their elbows, wrist, fingers, and pelvises. Using these clues, we were able to work out the average age of children as started puberty, reached their growth spurt, and reached full maturity. We were also able to work out when the girls had their first period. The average age at which children enter puberty was at the same as for boys and girls today, between the age of 10 to 12 years old. But medieval teenagers took longer to reach their later milestone, which including menarche. So yeah, basically they reached puberty way earlier. Now, yes, it is true that menarche is something that can be delayed, But puberty that starts before menarche, and that actually starts at the same time as it's starting now. So great job, Michael. You actually made yourself look absolutely stupid when you're trying to insult like your opponent.
When was he supposed to marry her? Like, according to you, when should he have married her 1400 years ago?
The real question is, why did he need to marry her?
No, 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 no.
He already had other wives, and one is more than enough.
Can you be more stupid? Like the Prophet married Aisha radiallahu anhu at the time when after Khadija radiallahu anhu died. Why didn't you do some research, basic research? He's just re-agitating like the same nonsense that we've heard and refuted 100 times by now. If you guys like the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. If you guys want to support me, then consider becoming a Patreon or support me on YouTube membership. And yeah, with this, I want to end this video. Thank you guys for watching. Inshallah, see you guys next time. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.